So former President Jacob Zuma has just filed an application for the rescission of the Constitutional Court ruling that ordered he be jailed for 15 months for contempt. He is, in terms of the order by the Constitutional Court, the highest court in the country, to hand himself over to the police no later than midnight on Sunday. Our reporter Samkele Maseko is at the Pietermaritzburg High Court and he joins us now. So, Samkele, let's just first start with the papers that have been filed. If you could just explain that to us.
Yes, essentially, it's a piece of the former president has filed court papers at the Constitutional Court, asking the Constitutional Court to rescind and set aside that particular judgment that was given by then acting Chief Justice Nkandla, that the former president must be incarcerated for 15 months. Just to go straight to the papers, the former president essentially says that, quote, "I trust that my application will not be regarded as another affront to the court or what is regarded as, quote, direct assaults as calculated in its insidious efforts to erode its legitimacy and authority," end of quote, as was the case with my genuine pleas with the issue of the recusal of the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo in the State Capital Commission of Inquiry. So the former president essentially says that he is asking the Constitutional Court to rescind its judgment of his 15-month imprisonment. To quote further, quote, "I am advised that before I walk through the prison doors to serve my sentence as the first direct prisoner of the Constitutional Court under our constitutional democracy, it will not be futile to make one last attempt to invite the Constitutional Court to relook its decision and to merely reassess whether it has acted within the Constitution or erroneously beyond the powers vested in the court by the Constitution. The perpetuity and uniqueness of these unprecedented circumstances, the implications thereof of my personal freedom and health challenges facing the country should all combine to militate in favor of the serious entertainment of this matter." That is the former president, and essentially he goes further to align himself with the minority judgment of the Constitutional Court, which was delivered by the then acting Chief Justice, where in the Justice Thoron and Justice Jafta emphasized that the former president must not get a jail term sentence, but must rather get a suspended sentence with a fine, as opposed to an unsuspended sentence of a 15-month jail term in prison. He goes further, quote, "Given my own unstable state of health, and that is my physical life, that the incarceration order threatens, I believe that I am entitled to a court that will examine with dispassionate interest but a keen sense of judicial duty and independence whether this judgment represents the law on contempt of court orders in a constitutional democracy that is underground by the Constitution, whose fundamental values are human dignity, equality, ubuntu, and the advancement of human rights, or whether, as I seek to assert, it is underlined by rescindable errors and omissions. In the present circumstances, it is the right to life itself which may be at stake. That is therefore no exaggeration to label mine as a cruel and degrading punishment." That is the words of the former president in these court papers that were in possession of as the SABC, where the former president is essentially seeking the Constitutional Court to rescind this particular 15-month jail term, which he is supposed to begin on Sunday Sunday afternoon.
So, Samkele, do we know what happens next? I'd expect that this has been an urgent application.
This is an urgent application. In fact, I've just been sent a picture of former President Jacob Zuma with his daughter Tutuzile Zuma, who has been by his side all along, wherein they are seen with the former president signing these very same papers that we are reading now live to the audience of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. So essentially what will happen now is that the court may choose to entertain or may not choose to entertain these papers of the former president of the Republic of South Africa. For instance, to quote further, quote, "I therefore seek this honorable court, based on its supreme duty to entrench a constitutional culture in which inherent dignity, ubuntu, the protection and advancement of rights and freedoms of the rule of law, to examine this direct imprisonment order and reevaluate whether such an order does not violate the constitutional rights that is enjoined to protect, promote and give effort to, and thereby make itself susceptible to the rescission regime envisioned in Rule 42 or the common law. So essentially the President is invoking Rule 42 of the Constitutional Court Act, in which he is now applying for this court to re-examine the rescission of his incarceration, wherein he states that his health is not good, and he essentially says that imprisonment would not be an ideal platform or place for a person of ill health such as his, and speaks of the current pandemic that is currently ravaging South Africa and the world at large. He quotes further to say, imprisonment will not serve any constitutional value but may be a political statement of exemplary punishment which does nothing to affirm the court as the supreme custodian of our constitutional rights, as already indicated by the premature celebrations of newfound upholders of the rule of law. That is the former president taking a dig at his political detractors, particularly those who celebrated his incarceration, like former president, like the last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk, and former deputy president of the Republic of South Africa.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Samkele. So, Samkele giving us an update from the Pietermaritzburg High Court. So let's see what is happening now in Nkandla. We're joined by reporter Ayanda Mhlongo. So, Ayanda, just paint a scene for us, what has been happening and for how long since you've been there.
Very good evening to Tsepiso and good evening to our viewers. Well, started off this morning, Tsepiso, quiet here outside the home of the former president, but the crowds starting to pick up throughout the day or towards the afternoon. A large group of the supporters of the former president that have come out here today have come from the province of Mpumalanga, and of course they're also saying that they're here to vent their frustrations against a decision by the Constitutional Court to sentence a former president to 15 months in imprisonment. And they are saying, and this has been the sentiment, of course, that has been shared by other groups that have come through here since yesterday, saying that they are ready to die for the former president and that they're not going to allow him to hand himself over to the law enforcement agencies. Of course, just a few minutes before coming to air, the MKMVA, Mkhonto Military Veterans Association spokesperson Carl Niehaus, also addressing the media, basically repeating what the MKMVA has said since the announcement or the decision rather by the Constitutional Court that they are going to stand by and support the former president, and basically they feel that this is all part of a plot by his political adversaries who over the years have been hell-bent on seeing their former president imprisoned. They're saying that even the decision that has been taken by the ANC's NEC to postpone the National Executive Committee meeting that was due to take place this weekend so that they can deal with the situation that is unfolding in KwaZulu-Natal. They are saying they had told the ANC, NEC, as the MKMVA of the situation and how it could end up in KwaZulu-Natal if they do not deal with the matters regarding their former president. And they are saying that they basically saying that there is going to be instability and there is going to be violence if the former president is in prison. But of course, that press briefing at episode by the MKNVA ending with the members of the media walking out because of the treatment that we were getting when questions were being asked to Mr. Carl Niehaus, heckled and bullying by the crowds that have gathered here, resulting in the members of the media who had converged here to then leave that media briefing by the MKMVA. The ANC members that are still out here saying that they're going to remain, of course, over the weekend. So we are expecting a lot more people to gather outside the home of the former president. Episo?
Ayanda, can you give us a sense of how many people have gathered? And there have been concerns, of course, expressed about the potential for this being a super spreader event. We've seen from some of the people, as we can see, in fact, right now, people are not wearing masks. So just what is the situation? Is there any attempt to ensure that health protocols are being followed?
Absolutely no attempt, Tsepiso, and I think that is very, very concerning. The people who are out here gathered today, I mean, this is the question that was asked by a colleague, a journalist, about to the MKMVA on their concerns of allowing gatherings during this time when the country is under level 4 lockdown, and the fact that they are not speaking out to their members to ensure that there's social distancing and to ensure that they are wearing masks. And at that time, we were heckled by the group that had gathered here. So clearly, they do not see the importance, they do not see the need to adhere to the lockdown regulations. They are singing and dancing and protesting up the road in a large group. And as you're saying, many of them are not wearing masks. And so, frankly speaking, they just simply don't care.
So has there been any word on the president filing papers in the Constitutional Court asking for the court to rescind its decision to incarcerate him for 15 months? Has there been any reaction to that?
The news of the president filing papers in the Constitutional Court has just come through to us now. In fact, while we were still listening to Carl Niehaus and the NKMVA briefing, so we did not get to the opportunity to even ask what their reaction is. But Carl Niehaus had indicated that I suppose he has been in discussions with the former president or through the foundation. He had said that there was speculation that the former president was going to at least challenge the Constitutional Court decision, but also file papers in the Pietermaritzburg High Court to stay his arrest. He did make an indication to that effect and said that as the MKMVA, they support any move by the president insofar as him challenging this decision, which they feel is unconstitutional and a violation of his rights. And when he said that, Tsepiso, there was cheers and clapping from the people that had gathered around us. So that would be an indication that, of course, then they support this action by the former president. Tsepiso?
Just looking at the next couple of hours, Ayanda, we know that the NEC meeting was cancelled because the ANC said that it's coming to Nkandla. Do we know any more detail about that? And just this fear of violence, how real is it?
Tsepiso, I didn't hear the beginning part of your question, but I heard you speak about the ANC NEC and this meeting that was supposed to have taken place, of course, now postponed so that the NEC members can come down to the province of KwaZulu-Natal to try and deal with this situation that is taking place here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Tensions are very, very high, Tsepiso. Yesterday, there were even videos and in the news report that we put together. Also, in that report, there was gunfire, gunshots being fired during that motorcade as it made its way here to the president's home, as well as when we were just out here as well. There was a small group that also fired gunshots into the air. So definitely, this is really, really intense. The people that are out here today, the MKMVA, all are threatening violence. They are saying that there is going to be instability in the province of KwaZulu-Natal and even South Africa if former President Jacob Zuma is to be in prison. So it certainly is a very worrying situation that is developing here in Nkandla. And of course, this is what then the ANC members or the ANC leaders that are going to descend on the province have to try and deal with. We haven't yet heard from the leaders of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. We understand that they are also going to be seeking the advice from the leaders of the ANC in terms of how they're going to move forward. Whether or not this means, so that they might want to hold an urgent meeting with the former president, that is also a possibility. Whether or not he will agree to that meeting, one is unsure at this stage, because what the family as well has told us is that the ANC has not helped the former president at all, and he's now on his own. A lot of people have deserted him. And so whatever decision that he is taking now, it's without the support or the backing of the ANC leaders. So next couple of hours, Tsepiso, as you're saying, and the weekend is going to be very crucial in terms of how ANC leaders in the country, in the province, are going to be able to manage this situation. Tsepiso?
All right, thank you very much, Ayanda Mhlongo, who is in Nkandla. As you can see, those scenes play out live there, the ANC to descend on Nkandla to give leadership, as it says this, as the former president has filed legal documents in the Constitutional Court asking it to rescind its decision. So all eyes and ears on that situation. As you heard Ayanda also say that Umkhonto weSizwe Military Veterans Association has described the sentencing of the former president as a travesty of justice. Addressing ANC supporters at Nkandla late this afternoon, Carl Niehaus said the judgment has brought the legal system into disrepute.